I get the question a lot. Where do I get the money for prepping? Preparedness. TEOTWAWKI stuff. The Minuteman loadout gear. Blah, blah, blah. Where do I get the money for prepping? Where do you get the money for prepping? And I get a lot of comments to the effect of, T, you just don't understand. I've even gotten some comments lately as to, it seems like you don't understand what it means to be a working class human being in America these days. Maybe, to which I would say, I think you need a little bit more context on who I am, so it would behoove you to go back channel here and learn a little bit more about who I am and where I've come from and what I do. But money for preparedness is a big deal, so we're going to talk about that while I drink my morning coffee. This backdrop should be familiar to at least some of y'all as well. And so here's the deal. There's a few different ways you can go about getting money to prepare, right? Your prepper money. The first thing is, and I tell my clients this, okay? It's a revenue game. You have to have revenue in order to make things happen. Whether that's, $30,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $30 million a year, doesn't matter. You need revenue. And then you need to keep as much of it as possible. So it's not just how much you earn, it's how you live as well. And that's one of the points I want to make about myself and my family. We do not live above our means. We do not live at our means. We live significantly below our means. And there's a lot of things that we could have that most of modern America would consider an absolute necessity that we don't have. We have one vehicle. It has 227,000 miles on it, and it's 14-ish years old. And I'm cool with it. I have no car payments. We don't have television. There's lots of things that most people have that we don't have. So we keep our expenses to a minimum, and non-essential costs are exactly that. They're non-essential. The boots I'm wearing right now, I bought in 2008. 2008. I don't know if you know what year it is, but it's not 2008 anymore. This jacket was given to me. I've had this since for a decade maybe. So we don't buy things we don't need. We don't need being the key here. And if we were to examine our life carefully, we have everything we need and most of what we want. And when we do purchase things, we buy quality things so that we buy them one time, not 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 12 times. Okay? So that's one thing there. The other thing that we do that I think a lot of people don't do is we take 6 days ye shall labor seriously, just as seriously as we take and you shall set the Sabbath apart. So we observe Sabbath. We don't work on that day, but 6 days ye shall labor. We do labor the other 6 days of the week. So all my various different endeavors currently, I produce content for YouTube. I produce content for Patreon. Those two things, not including live streams, results in about 8 pieces of content per week or 30 plus per month. And then I do at least a couple live streams, sometimes more, and post, blog posts and other things on Patreon. So about 40 pieces of content a month as a one-man show I produce. And that's not labor, that's not turning big rocks into little rocks, but it does generate income. So I do that. I am part of the founding team of 2 different internet-based startups related to preparedness, which I will have hopefully a lot more information on in the near future for those that are interested, because I'm very happy about it. But there's a lot of business development that I do there. I consult on business development with different consulting clients, okay? And part of that is personal coaching as well. If you're not good, your business isn't going to be good. It's very rare that you find a great business that has a horrendous operator behind it. It doesn't work that way, right? So you have to get the people who are operating the business squared away so that you can then get the business squared away. So I do that. I do training. I train people how to do the operator-ish things, right? Find the front sight, cover the target, squeeze. Find the front sight, cover the target, squeeze. Right, I do that. In fact, anyway, there's more training coming up. So I do that. I operate equipment for people. I operate equipment for people, heavy equipment. I do all kinds of things. We do the preparedness consulting. My wife is a phenomenal designer, interior designer as well as 3D designer, and she does design work as a contractor for a few different businesses. So we earn money from all these different avenues. Not one of these things is enough to make a living at, but by doing all of these different things, we earn enough money to not starve to death and die, which is great. It's kind of, it's one of the goals in life is to not starve to death and die. Coffee. We also do a lot of our own work. I mean, a lot of our own work. Oh, house needs work? On it. Need a new toilet? We will replace it. We don't subcontract stuff, like we do it ourselves. I'm in the process of fencing the front field so we can put sheep in it right now. I didn't hire a guy to do it. I'm doing it. So we save a lot of money by doing things ourselves. And in the doing of, we've become extremely competent at a lot of different things. There's very little in life that scares me. I can't stand sharks. I don't like sharks because they're killers in the water, designed to be there, and I'm not. I'm a killer in the water. I operate. Yeah. Navy SEAL versus shark. Shark wins. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not really afraid of much because we've just done so many things in this life so far that there's very little that we don't know how to do. And what we don't know how to do, we will more or less figure it out because we have so much life experience thus far by doing. We also produce as many of our own inputs as possible, meaning that I'm not paying for things. The things that I do need, if I can produce them, I will. Like food, for example. Raising and growing your own food will save you a ton of money and also increase the quality of the food that you consume greatly. So point being, you have to generate revenue. You have to keep a lot of it as much as possible by not spending it on stupid things you don't need. And those stupid things you don't need might be a house in a high rent district. Or whatever. Everybody has their stupid things that they spend stupid money on. And period, the end. So the bulk of my preps, I spent 8 years in North Texas, in the third most expensive county in the country, making $42K a year with a wife and 3 kids in the third most expensive county in the country, making $42K a year, working 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. 6 days ye shall labor. And so I would work where I was working, and as far as me not understanding working class men, I've been in construction more or less my entire life. My first business was I cut timber and firewood and then turned that into a full-blown timber operation and a tree trimming business. I've put up power lines all over this country, wind turbines, solar arrays, coal plants, trucking, heavy equipment operation, heavy civil construction, over 1 million yards of concrete poured. Framing, general contracting. If it has anything to do with building a building or a home, I more or less know how to do it and have done it. I've done a lot of things, including running a wood shop in North Texas. Fine carpentry. cabinetry and furniture. So I know what it's like to work with these, to earn a living by the sweat of your brow. And I relate to it deeply, to say nothing of all the agricultural ambitions I've had my entire life. So I relate deeply to having to earn a living with your sore back and your bad knees and your jacked up shoulder and I get it, okay? I get it. I've been there. And I was doing this in North Texas. And I would work during the day for the wood shop, and then I would work in the evening for me. I'd go run crown molding or base mold at somebody's house or remodel one room for them or whatever. Are you getting the point here? Nonstop. And I'd leave my house at 6 a.m. and most days I'd get home about 8 or 8:30. But I earned a hell of a lot of revenue. More than that $42K from the wood shop. And all my extra money, extra meaning my side work money, all of that has gone to preps. That's my prepping money, okay? We budget the household, and then if I want to buy another pistol, okay, where am I going to get $500-ish from? I'll go run some trim. Now I have it. Or we need more survival food. Okay, I'm going to go hang a door for this lady or whatever. So we stay busy and we don't spend the money that we earn in an irresponsible manner. There's very few things that we have that we don't need, but our wants are so minimal. We're so fulfilled by doing what we do and doing it the way that we do it, that I'm not trying to fill these holes in my heart with things. So, and the other thing that I'll say is, because I know there's a lot of people who would, kill somebody for a $42,000 a year job, and I get that. And I had a good job. I loved my job. I loved what I did and what I was doing it for and who I was doing it with. And, I enjoyed building that business from the little tiny mom and pop that it was to a formidable business that it is now. It didn't make a ton of revenue doing it, but I enjoyed doing it. But even then, there's a lot of people who would, cut off their left arm for $42K a year. Get experience. It's never too late to stop learning. And that sounds so cliche, but you should be learning constantly. Always be learning. That you need to develop your attitude and your aptitude, okay? Attitude is obvious, okay? If you think you can't do it, you're right, you can't. If you think you can, you'll figure it out. You'll find a way. Okay, so that can-do attitude matters. It really matters. If you've already decided here it's not going to work, it will not work. You're right. If you have already decided here, I'm broke and I have no money, you're right. You are broke. You have no money, nor will you. Okay, so you need to get your attitude squared away. And then your aptitude. Aptitude is your ability to learn something new. How well do you learn? And that can be trained. Read books, listen to educational podcasts, just constantly consume information and then go put it into practice. And we do that. And by we, I mean myself and my wife. My wife is a total badass. She's awesome, okay? I told my wife I loved her 9 days after I met her, because I did. And when I met her, I said, so what do you do? She says, I run a construction company. I was like, sure you do. She's like, no, really, I run a construction company. Okay, prove it. It was her company, and she did. And she's worth 4 good men easy. She's that good, okay? And this is a good point here too. People ask me all the time, how do I get my spouse on board? You gotta love them where they're at, right? That's for sure. And I can just tell you, it's a blessing to me that my wife is as awesome as she is. And she was not on board initially. immediately. But I just kept leading by example until eventually she was like, okay, I get it now. I get it. I want to help. Cool. And what I told her is, there's things that I'm not great at. I don't know how much cooking and cleaning supplies we should stock. Can you help me with that? I got her involved in the areas she was interested in. Baby stuff. Help me, honey. How much baby stuff do I need to stock? So, but she is a huge contributor, both in intellectual capacity and physical capacity to the way that we run our lives. That's huge. She's an excellent teammate. She's a phenomenal helpmeet. So, where do we get the money to prep? We earn money. We spend as little of it as possible. And we have collected experience, both of us. I started working full-time at 15 while still going to school. I started my first business at 17, and I went to school Monday morning from 7 a.m., I think it was 7:15 till noon. And I did all of my schoolwork for the entire week from 7 a.m. until noon, and then I left. And then I worked Monday afternoon through Saturday, maintained my equipment on Sunday as a 17-year-old kid running a logging business, and then went back to school Monday morning and did it all over again, and graduated with a 3.8 GPA from high school. I was taking college classes in the 7th grade. Not because I'm like super smart or whatever, but because I have just simply applied myself all the time. Always. Just go. Just get it done. So we get it done. And there's lots of things that we do that by doing all of them adds up to a living. And a comfortable living, because we don't overextend ourselves. We do not take on debt. Period, the end. We do not take on debt. And we also, I've been doing this a good long while now. There's no expiration date on rifles. There's no expiration date on ammo if it's stored properly. More or less, allow me that. Dry goods. Yeah, rice will last 25 years in a bucket, but it'll probably last 100 years in a bucket, right? If you bucket it properly. So point being that a lot of what we have as far as preps, we've had for a long time. And when money came in, oh, we got a tax return. Thanks for my own money back, government. We're not going to Disney World. We're going to do repairs on the vehicle that needs it, and we're going to stock food or whatever, okay? So both my wife and I are extremely practical people. We don't spend money we don't have, and the money we do have, we spend wisely to further a goal. And this will be the bow that we tie in the conversation. We know what the goal is. We have quantified the vision. We know what the mission is. If you don't know what your goal is, you're never going to hit it anyway. So you're right, you can't do it. Maybe your goal is to get a year's worth of food, 750 pounds. You've done the math. That'll be, we'll just call it $500. Okay. That's $40 a month, $10 a week. How are you going to come up with $10 a week? Where can I get $10 a week from? I never thought about it that way. I can find $10 in your week. How many beers a week do you drink? You smoke cigarettes? What's your coffee addiction look like? How many 5-hour energies did you buy last week? You like eating donuts? Where do you buy them from? Okay? What did you have for lunch last week? Don't tell me you don't have the money to prep. Okay? Everybody has the money. It's just how you allocate it. It's a here thing as much as a here thing. And as I say, you got to make your actions match your ambitions. Period, the end. I could go buy a brand new diesel, Super Duty right now. And by buy, I mean take out a note on it right now. That wouldn't be operating from a position of strength now, would it? Because anybody could show up at any time and say, hey, you missed 3 payments, that's our truck. Okay, thanks. No way, no. So, How do you get the money to prep? Earn. 6 days ye shall labor. Oh, and this is one other thing that we should have talked about. Earn. Be careful how you spend it. Don't buy things you don't need. And sell the crap you have now that you don't need. Facebook Marketplace, garage sale, whatever. There's literal tons of crap in most people's houses that they don't need. Sell it. If you have, and this is my rule with my wife, if I haven't laid hands on it in the last 6 months, I don't need it. Get rid of it. That's how I am. I'm extremely practical. So, earn. Not just 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. What does your 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. look like? Okay? There's time in your day there that you can be doing other things. Earn. Learn. Be careful how you spend. Don't buy things you don't need. Sell the things you already have that you don't need. And understand what is the mission. And then make everything you do conform to the mission profile. If it doesn't move the ball down the field, we ain't doing it. That's how I afford to prepare and have afforded to prepare, making less than ideal money with a wife and 3 kids in an extremely expensive living environment. And lastly, I guess this is the bow we're tying, I'd left that extremely expensive living environment. So you should do a cost-benefit analysis for real to stay where you are versus moving somewhere else. Go to bestplaces.net. That's a website that I use with our clients who are looking to relocate, and it will help you compare the cost of living between 2 different places, where you live now and a place you're considering to live. A lot of people say, hey man, I can't afford to move. You start doing the math, you realize pretty quick, I can't afford not to move. I'm wasting way too much money by staying here. It's a this game. And believe me, I understand a blue-collar existence. I've had one almost my entire life. And the few times where I had to wear a white collar, truthfully, I was extremely uncomfortable in it. But I learned from doing it. And now, I can drink Keystone in the trailer park or single malt in the boardroom. Doesn't matter. I can relate to anybody now. So, shalom.